Deep beneath the streets of Iran's capital, Tehran, we were being guided to a bunker. It was November last year, and the Iranian authorities wanted us to see something extraordinary. For in this vault was evidence of Afghanistan's most insidious export after terrorism.
Heroin کمتر از 2 تن حدود
2 tons of heroin.
heroin
And how many tons of opium?
حدود 115 تن تریاک
115 tons of opium.
مورفین چقدر؟ مورفین حدود 17 تن کمتر از 20 تن مورفین.
Under the Taliban, Afghanistan was producing nearly 80% of all the world's opium and its more valuable derivative, heroin. It was a major source of income for the regime. The only problem was Iran, sitting astride the main trafficking pipeline to Europe. Even with their fierce anti-drugs policies, the Iranians were at best seizing only 5% of shipments.
13 kilo 900.
Since seizing the capital, Kabul, in 1996, the Taliban had repeatedly refused to acknowledge their complicity in the drugs trade. They would periodically stage these sham raids, seizing heroin and declaring opium production to be un-Islamic. But then early this year, an unexpected development. Supreme Leader Mullah Omar had ordered an immediate halt to opium cultivation. By January, the poppy fields had disappeared.
I think the enforcement of the last decree on opium was designed to try to win them some favour in the international community at a time when the Taliban were increasingly isolated internationally.
But as a goodwill gesture, the ban failed. The West was not prepared to overlook the Taliban's repression or continued sponsorship of terrorist groups. Now, amid the chaos on the Afghan Pakistan frontier, it appears the Taliban have revoked the ban. Reports have emerged of a dramatic collapse in the price of opium, a strong indicator that the Taliban may be about to flood the world market.
We have seen recently, over the last 2 weeks, a drop in the prices. You're perfectly right. Before the crisis, 1 kilo of opium was sold in Kandahar at about roughly $500, $600 a kilo. 2 weeks ago, just a couple of days after the crisis, the price fell down to about $300, and now it's about $100, $150 a kilo.
For decades, opium had bankrolled Afghanistan's various warring factions. But it was under the Taliban that this homegrown industry came close to cornering the world market. So vast was production that when Mullah Omar imposed the ban, the United Nations estimated that 3 years' supply had been stockpiled, a kind of Taliban gold reserve that may now be cashed in.
It would be prudent from the Taliban's point of view to try to dispose of a crop on the old kind of use it or lose it basis. If the Americans know where the crops are, they would be an obvious target. The estimate of the British is that 20 billion pounds worth of opium has been stockpiled in different parts of the country, and one of the great fears at the moment is that the Taliban, in order to obtain ready cash, will try to sell as much of the stockpile as possible, irrespective of what the market price is at the time.
To the west, on the Iran-Afghan border, the Iranians are now bracing themselves for what may follow. Along the entire 1,000-kilometre frontier, they've constructed trenches, walls and fences, a defensive network in what has been a costly drug war.
Is a war, definitely is a war. Traffickers, moreover, sometimes are better equipped than the very Iranian.
It took us a year to gain access to this highly sensitive area, to a war the Iranians were already losing. Iranian commanders told us of their helicopters being shot down by Afghans wielding Stinger missiles, of entire detachments of heavily armed Iranian troops wiped out in battles. A sobering reminder of what the US-led coalition may yet face.
Last year, 170 soldiers were killed during shootout with traffickers. I doubt that any Western law enforcement authority has paid such a high price to the fight against drug.
The problem for the Iranians is compounded by a nightly parade of human misery that helps mask trafficker movements. Even before the latest crisis, thousands of Afghans were slipping across the still porous border each night, fleeing the worst drought in living memory.
Like these people, these illegal Afghans at the border, they are used by drug traffickers to carry narcotics in packs on their back. And they go on foot on the mountainous area and bring the drugs from the other side of border from Afghanistan or Pakistan into Iran.
Right.
These are Afghanis.
Packed into this small car, 17 emaciated members of a single family with barely the strength to move. Last year, this single roadblock was apprehending 1,000 people a week. Now, millions of Afghans are reportedly on the move towards Iran and Pakistan. Concealed in the long line of refugees, the professional drug couriers. Barely 1 in 20 gets caught. UN drug control officials in Iran say it will be weeks before they get a clear picture of the expected surge in trafficking. Such is the Iranian obsession with secrecy on this life and death frontier. This man caught with 12 kilos of heroin was later sentenced to death. Just one of 200 captured drug runners the Iranians execute each year.
Absolutely, he will be executed.
There's no doubt about that. He's facing execution.
Sorry.
There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Yeah. بدون شک و قطعاً اعدام خواهد شد. Absolutely.
The risk of the opium stock being flooded into the market to the detriment of the well-being of young people in Western countries provides an additional reason for the major powers to think very seriously about action to overthrow the Taliban.
It will take weeks for the expected drug surge to hit the lucrative markets of Western Europe. But the impact on Afghanistan's neighbours will be immediate. The Taliban were happy to fuel the drug trade because they claimed it only harmed the decadent West. But here on the streets of Iran, there are 2 million addicts, even more in Pakistan, all of them fellow Muslims. Now Afghan heroin courses through their veins. Their misery fueled by a Taliban movement that claims to champion Islam in its purest form.